I think the Dolphins are the ultimate litmus test on Malik Willis, because if they're not in it for Willis, it's buyer beware. Because you got two guys there in full alignment who have been comparing notes for the last 2 years, forging a relationship that caused them to believe they could team up and run a team together with no daylight between their opinions. If John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley don't believe in Malik Willis after being with him for 2 years, Hafley running the defense in Green Bay, seeing him in practice for 2 years, if they're not sold on him, be careful if you're taking that cheese based on the 6 games that you've seen. And I know you're sold on him based on what you've seen.
Yeah.
But they've got more access.
No doubt about it. You're right. That would be a buyer beware situation. I don't disagree with you there. Yeah, if they're not in on it to some capacity, it would definitely make me sit here or some other GM in the NFL sit here and go, man, well, why wouldn't they want him? And, yeah, that'll raise some eyebrows, 100%. I hear that. I think price tag is going to play a big factor in Malik Willis, too. Because is anyone just going to throw big money at him right away? No, it's going to have to be one of those things where, hey, this year we'll give you good money, but we want to see you have a good year, and that second year will be, a bigger chunk of change. A 2-year deal type of situation is what I expect from Malik Willis. Maybe a 3-year deal, something of that nature. But I don't think anyone's going to make a long-term commitment. But, yes, I do believe in Malik Willis, and, yeah, I definitely got my eye on him to Miami right now.
Look at what Sam Darnold got on the open market last year after winning 14 regular season games with the Vikings, $33.5 million a year. And it was structured in a way that the Seahawks could cut the cord after 1 year. And now, if anything, Darnold should be saying, hey, John Schneider, F you, pay me.
Yeah, right.
That contract is well below what his value is in relation to what his performance was last year. But with Willis, it's a tough balance. Because if you're not going to get the long term toward the upper echelon of the market, north of $40 million a year, and he's not, don't you just want a 1-year deal?
Yeah, maybe.
Don't you want to get back to the market? Don't you want to create a lever that forces them to pay you after 1 year?
That's what you would want.
It's a tough balance.
It is. And I don't know if another team would want that too. But, yeah, you're right. It's a tough balance too, the 1-year thing, but yet maybe a little more security with 2 years and guaranteed money and being able to finagle a situation like that. We'll see where that goes. But there's no doubt with Miami, they are in a rebuild mode. They're tearing down the team. They're tearing down the infrastructure of what Chris Greer built and what was there with Mike McDaniel and everything there. And they're at Tua, right? Bradley Chubb is the second highest paid guy on the team. He's done out of there. Minka Fitzpatrick, we know that, he
doesn't want to be there. I'm surprised they didn't trade him before the deadline last year.
And it doesn't seem like he will be there. He's at the part of his career. He's like, I don't want to be a part of this because like Chris Simms is saying, they're rebuilding. They're tearing the team down. So, they're obviously looking to reorchestrate the organization and then reorchestrate this roster and get it to where, John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley like it for what they see a football team to look like.
I told Hafley, if you want to make the team tougher, go back to your throwback uniforms. And I was half serious and half joking when I said it. We've had Dan Marino say he prefers those. The fans prefer those. They exude. And you say this all the time. How you look is how you feel and how you play. Those old uniforms exude a toughness that the current ones don't. You want to make that team tougher, you put them in those old uniforms.
Yeah, well, And the biggest thing is I am into that, the look of that. And the biggest thing is the coach has got to be tough. The coach has got to be tough. That's really what it is. There was a time, they were still in Miami in the 70s, and they were tough as hell during that time period. Ran the ball, tough defense. That's what they were, right? So that's where, again, it's on the coach. And they had a coach like that in Brian Flores who was tough as hell, but he was too tough, and he was probably also, little being tough in the front office and stuff like that as well.
Tough on everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where maybe it wore thin and they were like, okay, we got to get him out of here.
So they go the other direction. This is what dysfunctional teams do. The pendulum goes back and forth. We got a coach who's too tough, and we go all the way to Mike McDaniel, nice guy to everybody, and that doesn't work. We're going to go back this way. And they keep going until they maybe modulate to a middle ground where it's somebody who's got emotional intelligence to relate to the players, communicate with the players, get along with the players, but at the same time knows how to hold the players accountable, knows how to create conditions, as Hafley told me, where you'll find out which players are going to crack in the extremes, whether it's heat, whether it's cold. Although I still think there's no way to prepare someone to play in the cold. without finding a way to play in the cold.
I do agree with that.
I know from just being in the cold.
Right.
You have to be in the cold to get used to being in the cold.
Exactly. Right. Like we've talked about before, like the Detroit Lions, they practice inside a lot of days. They go outside too, but they live there. So it's not like it's like, oh gosh, whoa, we're playing in a cold, we're a dome team. Oh no, we got to go play in Chicago. They're like, well, we're used to 20 degrees all the time too. But yes, I would agree with you there. It's a hard thing to prepare for without having experience playing in those situations. And then I think on top of that, at some point you just got to win one of those games to give your team confidence, right? I go back to like the Buccaneers with John Gruden, right? The year before I got there, they win the Super Bowl. They're going up to Philly to play the NFC Championship game. No team from Florida's ever won a game under 40 degrees in the playoffs, so they're not going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And they win that game, dominate that game, and you don't really hear that anymore, right? You kind of squash that. And that's what it's going to take for Miami and Jeff Hafley, and I think he could do it. Hafley's got, that Jersey toughness that I talked to you about.
Well, and I think they do cross paths with the Packers this year. They do. They are at Green Bay again this year. And if I'm Hafley, I want it to be in November or December. I want to know that this is where we're going. And that's really, depending upon when they play the Bills, the Patriots, and the Jets, because they're going to have those road games. Beyond that, Denver, you never know what it's going to be in November or December.
Right.
But Green Bay is the one that stands out as a potential for a great way to show that they are tough enough to play in the elements. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.